This video is about interpretation of aerial photographs. An aerial photograph is a photograph taken from the air. The photo is taken vertically from an aircraft using a highly accurate camera. Now, an aerial photo has characteristics. Let's look at them. We have fiducial marks, principal point, stereo pair, direction of light, and scale. Let's consider each one of them one by one. Fiducial marks. Fiducial marks, they are built into aerial cameras and they appear on the sides or in the corners of the aerial photo. In this example of an aerial photo, we have these fiducial marks 1, 2, 3, 4. They appear as crosses at this corner. Right? So next is the principal point. The principal point is the exact center of an aerial photograph. It is the focal point through which the optical axis passes. It is found by joining the fiducial marks. So in this case, we have the 4 fiducial marks, and if we join them, this fiducial mark to this one, and this fiducial mark to this one, we get these 2 lines which intersect at this point. So this point is the principal point. That is the exact center of an aerial photograph. At the principal point, objects will appear correctly presented in the vertical position. Alright. Now, let's look also at what we call conjugate principal points. We have these 2 photographs. We call them a stereo pair. Alright. Each one has a principal point. For this photograph, we have principal point 1 and this principal point 2. Now, these 2 principal points, this principal point 2 is the conjugate principal point for this photograph. Right? So a principal point of an aerial photo that is represented on an adjacent aerial photo. Okay? So for this aerial photo, it has its own principal point, but it has this adjacent photo. So the principal point of this adjacent photo is the conjugate principal point for this aerial photo. Next is the principal line. The principal line is a line that joins principal points on a stereo pair. So you have this stereo pair, right, with these principal points P1 and P2. So this line that joins the principal points on this stereo pair is the principal line. What is a stereo pair? A stereo pair is 2 overlapping aerial photographs. So you have this aerial photo and this aerial photo. Now this area from here to here is the area of overlap. The features which appear here, they also appear in this portion. So this is a stereo pair, which is just 2 overlapping aerial photographs. Next is direction of light. How can we determine the direction of light? This can be done by finding or tracing common points in a stereo pair. So we have this stereo pair, so we can find or trace common points. So in this area of overlap, from here to here, we can identify common points, and we find that because of the 40 to 60% overlap, the maximum number of points will be present. And because this photo was taken after this one, the aircraft must have been moving from this direction to this direction, from this point to this point. So we can say that this is the direction of flight, which is parallel to the principal line. Alright, that's how we can determine the direction of flight. Next is the scale of an aerial photograph. Usually, to find scale, we divide the distance on the photo by the distance on the ground. Now in this case, we can also find the scale by dividing the focal length by the height of the aircraft above the ground. Now in this diagram, this is the camera. This is the camera, and this length is the focal length, the distance between the film and the lens. Alright, and then from here, from the center of the lens to the ground surface, is the height of flight. Right? So to find the scale, you divide the focal length by the altitude above the ground surface. So in this case, for example, we have been given the focal length of a camera for this aerial photo as 152.09 millimeters, and the flight height is given as 1,905 meters. So to get the scale, we divide the focal length by the height above the ground, which is 152.09 millimeters divided by 1,905 times 1,000 millimeters. So you get 1 out of 12,526. So this is the representative fraction. That's how you can write the scale in that format. And then you can write it as a ratio as 1 to 12,526. That's how you can determine the scale of an aerial photo. Next, let's look at the elements of aerial photography. When you are interpreting an aerial photo, you want to identify features on the ground. So there are elements that we can use to identify features on the ground. These elements are shape, size, texture, tone or color, association, and so on. Now, shape, like in this image, this aerial photo, we have this shape with rectangular partitions, and this must be a man-made feature. So in this case, it actually shows an agricultural area. It's actually a plantation, right? So you can use shape here to identify a feature on the ground, because man-made features are usually regular in shape. Alright? And then you can use size. Like we have this road, this is a highway, it's a major road and it's bigger in size than this road here, which is smaller in size. So we can use size to distinguish between a highway, a major road, and a smaller road. We can use size to distinguish between a river and a stream, and so on. Texture. Texture refers to the roughness or smoothness of a feature or a surface. For example, forest canopy appears rough as opposed to grass, water, or cement. Like in this case, we have this strip of a riparian vegetation, so the texture here is rough, okay? Because forest canopy appears rough as opposed to grass, which will appear as smooth and so on, the grass surface. Next is tone or color. Bright elements, like in this image, they are buildings. This is a town called Kabati, and you can see that we have bright elements here, which must be buildings, alright? So you can use tone or color to identify features on an aerial photo. In some photos you will see water in a lake or an ocean appearing as a black. So you can use color to identify between features and identify them. Next is association. In this example, we have this riparian vegetation, which of course is found along rivers. So there must be a river here, alright? And this being a plantation that is under irrigation, it must be near to a water source. So that means this line feature must be a river. So you can use association to be able to identify features on the ground. So that's how you can use those elements to be able to interpret an aerial photo. This is just a map for that aerial photo. Now, if you find this video helpful, kindly subscribe to my channel to be able to see more educational videos. Thank you.